Rule number one in the tile field, you always got to know what Stacel's thinking. So think what he's thinking all the time. Well, we just put this 6 in here, and I was telling him I always walk it in behind the plow as it goes. That way I keep all the dirt out from underneath it, and it keeps it on the bottom where it needs to be. So this right here is what we call a main, and this in particular is a 6-inch double wall main, and this is called the outlet here. So basically this is another section of the field, and so this is where we started a new one. There's an outlet here. This is where all the water comes to. So then we ran the main, and it follows the contour of the land. So then you have 4-inch that we put in every 30 feet or so, and it ties into the main, and this is all the water from the 4 inches come into this, and then it drains out. So the difference between double wall and single wall is this right here, this inner part. This makes a double wall. There's 2 layers right here. There's an outer layer and an inner layer, and that's why it's called double wall. Single wall, they'll just be the outer layer. So this is a 6-inch tee, and it goes on really tough. So put the one side on. Always fill in there to make sure it's all the way in, and it feels pretty good. So now you always set it like that. So right here is where it's going to come to. So I'm going to cut it a little bit past that so I don't cut it too short. It's always better to measure twice and cut once. So I'll go a little bit past, probably about right here. It's always easier when you have somebody to help you. Then this is the tough part. You kind of got to put your hand up here like this, one hand on the bottom, and you loop it back, and you just got to force it in, and you just work it, and that's it right there. You always fill it, make sure it's all the way in. That's it. Well, this is how you put a tee in double wall without a sawzall. You gotta have a nice big knife like this, because your little knife won't do it, I can tell you that. So you gotta just keep working it. So these 6-inch tees, these are the hardest ones to put in, especially with the double wall. So you gotta bear with me a little bit. You gotta be nice and strong. You always get any dirt that falls underneath it out. You want to try and leave that other side down as much as you can. And the reason why I left it short here and long here is so I could have something to pull up. If you don't have something to pull up, then you don't have anything to work with. If you do it in the middle, then you're really fighting a lot. Twist it, work it on. Get it out from under it. Take this. Just work it in. If you look, I don't know if your camera can see, if you look inside of there, it goes right up to the edge, right there on the inside, on both sides. And that's what you want. You don't want this to be pushed up too far, but you also don't want it to be too short. So you always want it to be here to here. And that's why I cut it 2 ribs too long, is because you never know. So this here is what you call a 6-inch multi-reducing tee. It's called multi-reducing because this right here is your 6-inch part. This is your 5-inch part, and this is your 4-inch part. So right now, it's reduced down to a 4. This is just how they come. So we're going to be hooking another 6-inch main into this, And so what we do, so this will be another outlet. So this is, I guess you could call it a sub main coming off of this because it's not the actual main. So we have to hook the 6 into this. So you have to cut it so it'll fit. So right here, you got a line here, and you follow just on this side of this line, and you just real carefully cut that out. We made it to our next hole here. So as you can see, every 30 feet, like I said, we do a lateral. That's what this is. What I do is I get over here, I got my hole saw, and I got my tap tee. I always do this so they're together. So you always have them together like that. So then you got your hole here, and I'll take this and lay it close by. That way when I'm in the hole, I don't have to get out of the ditch to get it. So it's already there. I don't have to get out. I'm not wasting time. This is what you don't want. You don't want the hoe waiting on you. So you got to get your stuff and get to the next hole as quickly as possible.
What are you doing now?
Looking for the tile. So I'm using this probe here, and then I get a reading on how long or much further it goes. So then I tell him, I get him as close as I can, but I make sure he doesn't hit it. The closer he can get, the less shoveling I have to do. I get him as close as I can, and I make sure that he's done before I hop in the hole. The reason for putting the shovel in the front is so when he comes back to clean in front of it, he knows where the edge of the tile is. So he'll come back, I'll get him right to the edge of that shovel there, and then he'll take it. But he knows not to come any further back than that so he doesn't rip the tile out. In here is I'm grooving now that the hoe is done. So I'm making a nice little groove here. And this is, you gotta think about how the water would flow into it. You don't want to go too low, and you don't want to be too high. You want it to be just right. So then I grab my hole saw here. This is a 4-inch. This is a 4-inch hole saw, and then 4-inch tap tee. And what I'll do is I'll drill a hole in the side of it and shove this in. So what you want to do is when you get down here, you kind of look at this and see. That's how you want it to sit, is like that. So that's how you know your bottom's good before you even start. So then you go here, you want to go straight into it. You don't want to go into it like this. So you get it started. And you get your bottom going first. You gotta be real careful you don't rip the tile too. And as soon as you feel it go in, you stop. That way it doesn't push that further in there. So that's, if you keep pushing, then it'll shove this clear in, makes it harder to get out. So then you got your tap tee. It doesn't really matter. I think flag up, flag down doesn't really matter a whole lot on these. It's pretty much the same. But you kind of push down. You don't want to deform the whole thing, but push down enough. You get these things started in. Then you take the 2 edges and you just work it in. So then you fill inside, and when you fill in, you can fill the edges of it where it catches so it doesn't pull out. So then it's good to go. So then you always push down to make sure it doesn't pop out the top, and that's how you want it to be. So then once you do that, you always just double check, make sure you clean all the chunks out of here, and just make sure that it still has a nice even flow into there. So should be good. You use your knife to pop this thing out, pull that off. This always goes in the hole. It doesn't go on the ground, it goes on the hole. Don't put it in the ditch part, just in the hole.